Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm Sarah Stewart, I'm the minister here. It's wonderful to have all of you with us this morning. I'm leading worship this morning with our Director of Music, Allegra Martin, our Assistant Director of Music, James Haupt, our Director of Faith Development, Samantha Namath, and Avilo Buxton, our broadcast tech. Abigail Hannaford Riccardi is our Assistant Director of Faith Development, and she is accompanying our Neighboring Faiths class on a field trip to our sister congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester. Here at First Unitarian Church, we strive in loving fellowship to honor the sacred, connect with each other, and serve justice. We are a welcoming congregation. Whatever your age, race, class, or nationality, you are welcome here. Single people and families of all kinds are welcome here. LGBTQ folks are welcome here. Those of all physical and mental abilities are welcome here. The doors of this church are open to all, and we are delighted you are with us today. For those of you who are joining us online, welcome to you as well. You can like this video to help others find it and subscribe to our channel to find all of our content, musical performances, children's stories, and past services. The newsletter is the best way to stay in touch with everything we do as a congregation. Go to firstunitarian.com and click subscribe to our newsletter at the bottom of any page. Everybody is welcome to a special stewardship luncheon in the church parlor after the service through either of these doors. This door on my left is the accessible entrance. And if you are a newcomer, please stop by the welcome table on this side to pick up a gift bag that we have for you, learn more about our church, and you can also sign up for the newsletter there, as well as meet friendly volunteers. I have a few additional announcements this morning. We love our musicians. Hold your applause and show them all your love at once at the end of the service. And speaking of music, the title to the third anthem is Shine on Me by Rollo Dilworth, not Take Me to the Water. Our flowers this morning are given in loving memory of Edward Simsarian, longtime member of this church, whose memorial service was held here yesterday. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Coming into this sacred space, we give thanks for the cycles of life, balance, and harmony, for the earth, for clean water, for fish, plants, birds, and all the animals on the earth, for medicine and care, for trees, for all people, for the wind, for thunderstorms and sun, for the moon and stars, for teachers, for the Creator, the Great Spirit, for the end of our speaking and the silence of our hearts. Our minds are one. Amen.
You're very patient. Abby has us down to a science. This morning, Adrian will light our chalice. Hold it for a little bit longer. Perfect.
In the spirit of love,
we light this chalice. Please rise in body or spirit to renew the covenant of our church with the words printed in your order of service and appearing on your screen. In the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus, we unite for the worship of God and the service of all.
Good morning. As Sarah said earlier, our neighboring faith class is currently at our sister church, UUCW, over on Holden Street, and that class is facilitated by Abby and Avery, and that is for our 6th through 9th graders, so they are all over there right now. And if you have a 6th or 9th through 9th grader who's not there right now, come find me and we will get you into the class and get started. It is a wonderful curriculum, super enriching, and it's a really great experience. At First U, we rise up all ages of children and youth, and our next big event is our Youth Con that we are collaborating with First Parish over in Brewster, Massachusetts. Right now, my car is full of bringing kids to Brewster. So if you want to partake in this amazing youth activity that has been a Unitarian Universalist space for youth for so many years, we're bringing it back. I would love to have you help volunteer, bring youth to this memorable experience. It's a weekend-long event. You are not required to stay the whole time, and you're not required to sleep over. I just need help getting our youth there to meet other Unitarian Universalist teenagers. It's a great experience. Come find me if you want to help out. So today's story is from 2020. So my voice is not over there. It's our former director of faith development, Julia Donaldson. It's Zah, A Tale from Iran. It's really wonderful, and we hope you enjoy it. And we will see Abby and my collaboration again later. Thank you.
Once upon a time, there was a king who delighted in gardens. One day he was strolling through the city, admiring the flowers and fruit trees tended by its citizens, when he came upon a poor, ancient gardener about to plant a young pear tree. "Salam alaikum, peace be unto you," said the king. "I hear you are too old to work in the garden during the heat of the day." The gardener had been so absorbed in loosening the sapling's root ball that the king's comments took him by surprise. He looked up. "And besides," continued the king, standing over the gardener, "why bother to plant something you won't get to see grow in your lifetime? Any day now you may sleep the long sleep of death." The old gardener looked wistful, then replied, "Well, if I don't get to see it grow, I don't mind. Many will delight in its sweet fruit. Others will enjoy the shade it provides from the hot sun." "Zah!" exclaimed the king, using a Persian expression of joy. He smiled. "That is a very wise thing you have said." He then promised to reward the man with 10,000 dirhams, which was a lot of money in those days. "You see," said the old man, with a twinkle in his eye, My tree is already bearing fruit. Usually, a tree requires many years, but my sapling has begun right away," exclaimed the king with a large grin. "You have once more shown great understanding." He crossed his arms and considered the distant hills briefly. "If I follow your advice in all my affairs, my kingdom will surely prosper for generations to come." And the king promised the old gardener yet another 1,000 dirhams as a prize for this insight. The gardener stood up, thanked the king for both rewards, and clasped the king's hand with his own. You see, ordinarily, treat toothless grin for the king and went back to gardening. "Zah," said the king.
I'd like to invite all my children and youth. We're going to head down to the Landers area for our faith development classes. That is all grades.
Please join me in the common prayer printed on the insert in your order of service and appearing on your screen. We'll say this prayer responsively. We are thankful to our Mother, the Earth, for she gives us everything that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk about upon her. It gives us joy that she still continues to care for us. We gather our minds to greet and thank the enlightened teachers who have come to help throughout the ages. When we forget how to live in harmony, they remind us of the way we were instructed to live as people. We now turn our thoughts to the Creator or Great Spirit and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our thanks to the Creator. Now our minds are one. Amen. Please continue your own thoughts and prayers in silence. In this time of prayer and meditation, we share the joys and sorrows of our church with one another. Liz Gustafson lights a candle of gratitude for volunteers from our church who provided service at the IHN Family Shelter this week. Dawn McCabe lights a candle of healing and hopes for a speedy recovery for her mother and sister who both tested positive for COVID yesterday. Linda Wyatt lights a candle of peace for the Armenians in Artsakh. May they be brought to safety if evacuated. And Liz Gustafson lights a candle in memory of Blaze, the son of Brenna Ewing, who died this week. We hold these prayers of peace and healing, of gratitude and memory in our hearts. We know there are those joys and sorrows which go unspoken among us, and so we reach out to one another in compassion as we say together the prayer of Jesus with the words in our order of service and appearing on the screen. Our Creator, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy commonwealth come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the commonwealth, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Our ministries at First Unitarian Church thrive because of your support. In the past few weeks, Our Neighboring Faiths program for 6th to 9th graders has begun to teach these young people about religious diversity in our community. Your stewardship team, finance committee, and prudential committee have been working on budget and fundraising plans to ensure the financial and spiritual health of the church in 2024 and beyond. And our choir has kicked off another wonderful year of music. The choir is open to all interested singers. No audition is required. The ushers will receive the morning's offering, or you may scan the QR code in the order of service. For those of you online, you can text the number on your screen or go to firstunitarian.com and click Give Online at the top of any page. Everything we do as a church is thanks to your support. I invite your generous contributions for the good work of First Unitarian Church.
We are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. We are the ones, we are the ones, we've been waiting. We are the ones, we've been waiting. We are the ones, we've been waiting. We are
Steadfast love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, those he redeemed from trouble and gathered in from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. Some wandered in desert wastes, finding no way to an inhabited town. Hungry and thirsty, their soul fainted within them. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He led them by a straight way until they reached an inhabited town. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wonderful works to humankind. For he satisfies the thirsty, and the hungry he fills with good things.
So
Our second reading is the Peacemaker story, a Haudenosaunee legend with its roots in history. This retelling is excerpted from a teaching guide by the National Museum of the American Indian, which is part of the Smithsonian. Long ago, in the 12th century CE, the Haudenosaunee nations were at war with each other. A man called the Peacemaker wanted to spread peace and unity throughout the Haudenosaunee territory, which is now upstate New York. He began to travel to spread his vision of peace. The Peacemaker used arrows to demonstrate the strength of unity. First, he took a single arrow and broke it in half. Then, he took 5 arrows and tied them together. This group of 5 arrows could not be broken. The Peacemaker said, "A single arrow is weak and easily broken. A bundle of arrows tied together cannot be broken. This represents the strength of having a confederacy. It is strong and cannot be broken." The Mohawk, Oneida, Cayuga, Seneca, and Onondaga accepted the message of peace. Joined together, these 5 nations became known as the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. One of the most important events that shaped the Haudenosaunee was the creation of the Gaya-Nesagawa, the Great Law of Peace. It guides the Haudenosaunee through all aspects of life. A full rendition of this epic, which takes several days to tell, reveals the ways in which the Peacemaker's teachings emphasized the power of reason, not force, to assure the 3 principles of the Great Law, which were righteousness, justice, and health. The Great Law of Peace provides the Haudenosaunee people with instructions on how to treat others, directs them on how to maintain a democratic society, and expresses how reason must prevail in order to preserve peace. Today, Haudenosaunee communities continue to live by the principles of the Great Law. The Great Law of Peace is one of the earliest examples of a formal democratic governance structure. The Great Law of Peace was known to some of the founding fathers and has been compared, in terms of designated authorities and balances of power, to the US Constitution. The Haudenosaunee Grand Council is the oldest governmental institution still maintaining its original form in North America. On this Sunday dedicated to gratitude, I'd like to begin with some things I'm grateful for. In my household, this is often our dinner grace, our table grace, to go around and say what we are grateful for. My teenage sons are often deeply grateful for food, the food that's in front of them. I'm grateful for my family, for those boys and my husband. I'm grateful for the abundant gifts of the good earth, which provide everything we need and use in our lives. I'm thankful for loving friends, for this meaningful work to do, for you all, this congregation, its energy, its commitment to Worcester and to the larger area. To our excellent lay leaders, those of you currently serving, those of you who have served in the past, those of you who will be asked and will say yes in the future. On Stewardship Sunday, I'm especially grateful to our stewardship team, Mike Willender, Seth Popenchak, and Marjorie Connolly. I'm grateful for their thoughtfulness and their commitment to our shared values as a church as they values. Whether you think about them or not, you're expressing values in what you do, and we have been trying to be thoughtful about it this year. So one of those values is transparency. Everyone's invited to a lunch after this service to celebrate the congregation and talk more about fundraising. And if you go to that sort of triangle-shaped bulletin board that's just into the dining room past the Bancroft room on this side, you'll see a whole bunch of charts. Seth Popenchak has put these together, all these different ways of looking at the budget and giving and trends since 2018. We're trying to provide as much information as we can and be as transparent as we can. I just want to tell you a little bit about some of those key realities that the church is facing right now and that have gone into shaping this year's stewardship campaign. I don't think it comes as a surprise that the pandemic was hard on the church's budget. Now, there were some positive things that happened during the pandemic. You all have been very generous. Our members gave when we asked them to. That helped us tremendously during those hard years where we didn't have any rentals and we didn't have a Sunday collection and our income was uncertain in some ways. Thank you for all of that you have given to the church. We received a Paycheck Protection Program loan, which became a grant. We applied for that in 2020, and it supported the church's budget in 2021 and 2022. We were able to stretch it to cover those 3 years. We were able to do that in part because of prudent spending, cutting spending during that first hard year of the pandemic and keeping it lower for the following 2 years. And this is not necessarily a positive thing, but it just happened that we were understaffed during many of those years, which meant that we struggled to provide some of the programs that we're used to, but it also meant our costs were lower. Those were some good things that happened, but what were some hard things that happened? Well, the church has become somewhat smaller. Members died, they moved, they changed their habits. We are growing once again, coming out of the pandemic. We welcomed 16 new members during the last church year. I hope for even more this year. We are no longer understaffed, and let me tell you how happy that makes me. I cannot put that in the negative column. We have some wonderful staff, new staff and continuing, who run our programs and support the infrastructure of our church. We increased hours for our Assistant Director of Faith Development, which means that we now offer her benefits. So in these ways, our staffing costs have gone up. Our expenses are back to pre-pandemic levels, but our pledging and our membership numbers are not. Your stewardship team and your Prudential Committee are asking the congregation to raise $330,000 in pledges for 2024, which is a significant increase over 2023. We're asking our members to consider moving to the next level in their giving. I also want to just talk about one other financial reality of this congregation, which is that we are blessed to have a significant endowment that was raised by prior generations of the church. It's not ancient. A lot of it was raised in the 1980s. It supports this beautiful building and makes maintaining our large campus possible. And every year, tens of thousands of dollars from that endowment draw also come to support our programming. But 100% of pledging supports the programming in the church. We draw sustainably from the endowment. This is a philosophical question. Finance committee meetings are on the second Wednesday of every month at 5. They are open to everybody in the congregation. If you would like to engage in the philosophy of how much we draw from the endowment, I invite you to any finance committee meeting. The number is somewhere between 4 and 4.5%. A draw in there, right now we're at 4.15%. A draw at that amount allows the endowment to last forever. Forever, to maintain the mission of this liberal congregation. If we draw less, we wouldn't be honoring the gifts that were given. Transparency is I'm going to give you in a sermon about all the money. Come to the lunch, you can see more of the charts, and there is going to be a stewardship roundtable after church on the 22nd of October where you can dive deep into all these questions. Plus, as I say, Finance Committee and Prudential Committee meetings are open to everybody. The budget, your Finance Committee and Prudential Committee work on it. They'll hold a listening session in December. You all elect these leaders who do this work, who develop the budget, who raise the money, who put it all together. This way of doing church, church by committee, church by vote, church by the people, this is the other fundamental value that has shaped the work of the stewardship team this year and which undergirds the entire life of this congregation, which is democracy as a way of doing church. This is a fundamental commitment of Unitarian Universalists going all the way back to the founding of the first congregations in New England. In 1648, the congregations which planted themselves here in New England, which probably thought of themselves as, they might not have used the word Anglican, but part of the English Catholic Church coming to these shores and planting their beacon on a hill. They wrote back to the Archbishop of Canterbury and they said, we don't need a bishop to tell us what to do. One person appointed by you, Archbishop or the king, you don't know what's best for us. The Spirit speaks to all people. And all those people work it out in their local community. And each gathered local community can be a church and can, by sharing their voices together, understand how they are to be a church, what the right thing for that congregation to do is. In order to have a town in New England, those settlers believed you needed a church. In order to have a church, the people came together and decided how they would organize themselves and who would be their minister. The way we do our annual meetings here in this congregation, where everybody comes together and speaks if they have something to say and votes on what the plan should be, forms the basis of town government in New England. That direct democracy worked out in community. In 1648, it was a radical innovation that has shaped life in our congregations and in our towns ever since. Congregational meetings and town meetings are not the only basis of democracy, though, in America. Another is owing to the nations which were already inhabiting North America when those settlers came here and founded our ancestor churches and even drafted the United States Constitution. The oldest governmental institution in its original form in North America is the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and its Great Peace. I learned about this, the Great Peace and the Great Thanksgiving of the Haudenosaunee in the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And she herself, she is a Potawatomi Indian, not a Haudenosaunee. So she herself was respectful of wanting to share respectfully this cultural work of the Haudenosaunee. But they said, yes, we want it to be shared. This is a gift we have to give the world. We want more people to know about how we organize ourselves and the basis of our democracy. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy is matriarchal. It's consensus-based. There is a balance of power among men, women, young, and old. There are different councils that have to work together in order to make decisions. It's especially that system of checks and balances, which is replicated in the US Constitution. It is thought that the Founding Fathers took that from the Haudenosaunee to put it in the Constitution. Responsibilities and privileges are shared among 6 different nations who speak slightly different languages and have different cultural backgrounds, and it has worked to maintain peace among those nations for centuries. At the heart of this great peace is the Thanksgiving Address. Robin Wall Kimmerer reports that in Indian schools in the Haudenosaunee territory, children recite the address weekly, the way American children in public schools recite the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. She says, the Thanksgiving Address reminds us that duties and gifts are 2 sides of the same coin. This is among our gifts, Kimmerer writes. We can learn from this kind of democracy too, a democracy grounded in gratitude. It's not about how much we can get or hold on to. It's about the overwhelming abundance of gifts, which awakens generosity in us. I tried to list everything that the Haudenosaunee Great Thanksgiving gives thanks for in our opening words this morning. It is really everything: the earth, the water, berries, fish, plants, birds, all animals, the herbs that give medicine, trees, people, the wind, thunderstorms, sun, moon, stars. Teachers get a special mention. All people, but especially teachers. Thank you, teachers. For the Creator, the Great Spirit, and for quiet after a lot of speaking. This kind of radical gratitude takes us out of the center of our own story. Suddenly, we're not the center of the universe anymore. It's not just us alone, trapped in our own minds, beset by our own worries and insecurities. If we feel alone, then each of us is tempted to think that we matter the most. And there's a whole marketplace out there that caters to that ego and to our anxieties and convinces us that the world hinges on us. Our likes on social media, our opinions, our 5-star rating, our activism. It doesn't treat us as part of a community. The powers that be treat each one of us as individuals, atomized and alone. You have to give, you have to act, you have to click. You, I. Beginning with that gratitude for all that is widens the circle and takes the focus off of us as individuals. We're not alone. We're here together. I'm grateful for every one of you here together in this room and for you joining us online. And beyond these walls, we're not alone. We're together with everybody here in Worcester, a city where this church has and can continue to make a difference. There's gratitude for that opportunity. Beyond that, we're part of central Massachusetts, spreading out all around us, and New England, connected to all those people standing in a tradition of democratic religion that helped make this region what it is today. We have gratitude for our forebears who founded this church, who stuck with it in hard times, who stayed here on Court Hill on Main Street, even when Worcester was having much harder troubles than it is today, who were committed to free will and the teachings of the conscience and of church that would preach those things. And then those are all human things, but beyond those human things, we have gratitude for the natural world, this entire planet of trees and brooks, of rain and sun, for the wind and the night sky, for food and shelter. Gratitude connects us and decenters us. It's not the ego, but the community. Not what's best for me, but what's best for all of us. In that spirit, the church is asking for your generosity this year, yes, to support the programs and ministries that serve us, the choir and the music we enjoy, programs for our children, pastoral care, spiritual exploration and challenge and comfort, space and support for our affinity groups, opportunities to serve the larger community, a place to bless our babies, celebrate our youth, marry those in love, and bury our beloved dead. Yes, your giving makes these programs possible. But this year, as we find our footing after the pandemic, your giving makes the future possible. We are in a position to bring liberal religion to so many more people in Worcester by inviting them into our congregation and by serving them as neighbors in our social justice work. Hundreds of children can be shaped by the values in our faith development program. Lives can be changed by our message of divine acceptance and love. One of our leaders says that Worcester has problems that are a good fit for the energies and abilities of this church. We can do something about life in our city. This is the vision that your generosity will support, a downtown church that shines like a beacon for truth, spirit, worship, and service. Together, we can get there. Not I, but we. Gifts of all sizes will provide a strong base for current programs and future dreams. I invite you to join me in giving as generously as you can, out of gratitude, with all our voices as one, to build the future we are dreaming of. I love you all. Amen. Choir is going to come up and help us support us in singing our closing hymn, number 404 in your gray hymnals, What Gift Can We Bring? Please rise and bow to your spirit. the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast that which is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the afflicted. Honor everyone. Love and serve the holy, rejoicing in the power of the Spirit forever. Amen. Please be seated.